I think this was one of the worst weekends, and really it feels like one of the worst starts to a season for the Big 12 in some time. I mean, if we look back on the Big 12 and we start talking about, hey, what do we see and what's good and what's bad, I don't think that there is any question that what's going on in Manhattan, Kansas is shocking. I have no idea how you explain the start that K-State's off to. But you know what? I think, Jake, K-State is probably the biggest concern I have in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a situation where K-State is woefully underperformed. And I think that, it's a classic case of, K-State, all the talk before the season was, oh, K-State's going to contend for the conference. K-State's going to do this. K-State's going to do that. And Avery Johnson hasn't been that guy. The defense hasn't been great. The run game, obviously, losing Edwards there early in the year to that little ankle roll, obviously isn't ideal. And I think that the Big 12 is in this situation where once again, 2 years in a row, the team that everyone thought was going to win the conference isn't probably going to win the conference at this point, unless they get a lot of help, unless they just rip off like 8-9 in a row. Like they're not gonna. That's not gonna be the situation this year, and that's where it's just really unfortunate because K-State really should be better than they are, and I would just say they've had a really disappointing start overall.
Yeah, no question. I obviously with what's on the line for K-State and what's on the line for the Big 12, it is really disappointing that this team seems to just not be up to par with where they had been and certainly what the expectations are. And the funny thing is, it's not as though Avery Johnson has been terrible across the board. Was he good this past weekend? No, he was not. The interception that essentially ended the game, I don't even know how you explain that throw. I don't know how you explain just how bad K-State has been. And, it feels like you want to understand it. It feels like you want K-State to be good and they want to break out. But I just don't think Avery Johnson's that guy. And I hate saying that because I feel like I'm being a jerk about it. But I just think they're not dynamic. They are not hard to defend. And, you look at some of the numbers coming out of this game, and it's wholly unimpressive. And I don't know how you fix this. When I look at the Big 12 and the storylines that we have in the Big 12, I don't know how you fix what's going wrong in this conference because when I look at K-State, K-State's going to Tucson this week to take on Arizona. And I just, with what we've seen out of Noah Fafita and the Arizona offense, I would expect Arizona to win that game. Yeah. As crazy as that probably sounds, I would not have said that a month ago. But I also wouldn't have said anything other than I expect K-State to be undefeated at this point. And now I look at this offense and you only gave up 24. The problem is you only scored 21 and it's Army. So it's not like you're playing one of the best teams in the country. And you look at Avery Johnson, who goes 15-25, 172 yards with a pick and an interception. And Jake, it's just another bad performance by an offense that we expected more out of.
Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly right. I think that, playing against that Arizona offense is not going to be some cakewalk for K-State. And, it's even more difficult is when you're losing games you shouldn't lose. Obviously momentum goes both ways, so when you're winning, obviously the momentum helps you. When you're losing, the momentum doesn't help you, quite frankly. And obviously, I think it goes without saying that when guys like Avery Johnson have NFL aspirations and everyone expected them to be better, and then, again, not to rip the kid, but I just don't think that he's not been anything close to what anybody thought he would be, whether it's the pre-snap stuff, whether it's the accuracy stuff, like none of it is where it should be. And I think that's what's most disappointing. Like I could understand if K-State had played their best football and Iowa State just had figured it out in that game or whatever, if K-State had, just played flawless football against their opponents so far and they just lost, that'd be a different conversation. But there's so many opportunities that this team is just giving away. And it's as little as an off-target throw. It's as big as being undisciplined in the secondary. So guys are wide open running free. And that's where I say, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, you got to fire everybody, burn the whole house down. But what I am saying is like, hey, like, how is this season going to turn around? How do you salvage, what, eight, 9 wins out of this? Or how do you make it feel good towards the end of the year? Because that starts right now.
Well, and I think one in this Army game, not to belabor the point on K-State, but in this Army game, the defense just couldn't get off the field. I mean, to be 2-1, Army had double the possession time that K-State had. And you look at the fact that they converted 50% of their third downs. The Black Knights did 6 of 7 on fourth down. Like they just dominated K-State. And again, I think when you look at the idea that K-State only ran for 74 yards, and the worst part is, like, the total offense, K-State only had 246 yards the entire game. And again, that's why I say I don't necessarily put this on Avery Johnson, although that interception was bad, but I don't see how you come back from this. I truly do not understand how you come back from it. I think it's a huge problem. And then I look at Arizona State, and this is one of the most perplexing losses, because this was an Arizona State game that you felt like, hey, if this is how this is going to go, Arizona State's going to win this game. And then they straight up did not win this game. And Sam Leavitt was simply not very good at all. He completes 10 passes on the entire game against a Mississippi State team led by Blake Shapen, who I think we're all familiar with. But you look at Sam Leavitt in this game, he was absolutely horrendous. And I look at some of the numbers in this Arizona State game, and we can sit here and we can try to spin this any way you want. But Arizona State, by the numbers, should have won this game, right? They both had 300, like Mississippi State had 345 yards, Arizona State had 332. But Sam Leavitt throws for 82 yards, and this is a guy that a lot of people had aspirations of being like a Heisman contender, and that just never happened. And I never thought that I would say this, but you look at a Kenny Dillingham team, and this is just one of those things where I'm like, dude, this is one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen out of a Kenny Dillingham team.
Yeah, we got to be better. I mean, like I said, our offense in general, too many drops on offense as a group. It was a bad day. I mean, it was a really, really bad day on offense. And it all stems from passion we play with. Is it okay to not make a play? And if you accept it, then you accept it. And that's who you're going to be. Don't be mad going 5-7. It's okay. Don't be mad going 6-6. Don't be mad going 3-9, because somebody has to go those records. There's going to be tons of teams who do it. Why not us? We didn't practice bad. What I mean by that is, like, we didn't bust. We didn't MA. We threw one pick. Like, we didn't practice bad. We didn't practice with passion. We didn't care if we scored a touchdown. We didn't care if there was an interception, right? We didn't care if somebody made a great play for most of practice. We were just out here practicing. And to me, the best teams, it matters all the time. You want to win everything. And today we didn't have that mindset. We didn't want to win. We wanted to practice. And those are two different mindsets to me.
You right?
Good practice of complacency. It was a good practice for a bad team. It was an average practice for an average team.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt. I mean, I think that Kenny is couldn't be more accurate, and I think that the frustrating part is, like, you lose, obviously in the offseason you lose Scat, and everyone's like, oh well, he was your entire team, and now it's starting to look that way. And what's frustrating is, you watch this game, and yeah, sure, the numbers are ugly for Sam Leavitt, but what's even worse is that the throws were just not competitive. That's what's frustrating to me, is that you have something taking place where you're just not, you don't look good. You're not anywhere close to what you should be. So I just think that if you're ASU right now, you're sitting here trying to figure out, well, hey, like, what the hell are we going to do to bounce back? And again, this is the story of the Big 12, in my opinion, this year, which is, hey, like, some teams are bad. And ultimately we got to be better. And that there's no getting over that.
Well, I also think that when you're in the Big 12, I just don't know how I honestly don't know how you fix it. I guess that's the biggest thing that I would say is I have no idea how you fix it. And I think it's one of those things where you just don't. I don't know, man. I think it's going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how all of that plays out. And Arizona State's another big one that I think is a huge problem. But then again, I look at BYU. And again, I want to try. I'm not trying to be negative, Nathan, here, you guys. But I look at BYU, and is there anybody that is excited about what we've seen out of BYU's quarterbacks? Because Jake, I have to tell you, I am as unimpressed with BYU's quarterback situation and their pass attack that I am of any team that we've seen at all. And I don't know that we have any reason to be enthusiastic about BYU whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, coming out of the gates here, you've got two bad opponents, right? You've got, obviously, Stanford's not good, and I don't even need to mention your week 1 opponent. And the problem is against these teams, like, everyone thought, oh, well, Bear Bachmeier, young guy, big talent, like, and listen, BYU fan, I understand the hype. I get it. I understand the hype. You love a young guy. You guys love a headband wearing dude at BYU. I totally understand. But the reality of the situation is that once again, we're 175 for 6.5 yards on average. We're not 250. We're not 300. We're in a place where they're clearly trying to figure it out. And again, I hate that we have to do this where it's like this team and that team and the other team, like we're just going down the Big 12 ledger. And it's like, yeah, all these teams are struggling. All these teams are not in a good place. All these teams are not doing what they should be doing. But it's the reality of the situation. Yes, there are positives out of this conference this week, but Bear Bachmeier and his performance and once again the play calling probably isn't one of them. Like, with all due respect, like, yeah, you won the game 27-3, and that's great. But what's going to happen when you go to East Carolina? Like, what's going to happen when you start playing a little bit better cut of opponent? At that point, then we're gonna start to see the turnovers go up. We're gonna start to see that defense get exposed a little bit, and that's when I think you're gonna start to see who this team really is. Unfortunately,
yeah. And then I think you got to talk about Oak State as long and as far as we have tried to push this off. There's no way to do it, and I'm tired of the excuses, and I'm tired of Oak State fan that's going to make excuses and. This is a poorly coached team that is lacking tremendously in talent. I've told you all summer long their transfer portal work was terrible. I look at the coordinators that they hired, terrible hiring decisions, not firing Mike Gundy, cutting his pay under the guise of NIL. And I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of Oak State fans showing up here week after week talking about how things could turn around and things are not going to turn around, because let's make something very clear. This team is massively untalented, and the talent that is on the field is poorly coached. And that is 100% on Mike Gundy. And I don't care how many years Mike's been there. This team has been irrelevant for just about 5 years now, where they simply don't matter in the grand scheme of things in college football. And the Big 12 conference can't handle that. And if the humiliation of Ollie Gordon's DUI wasn't enough, if the humiliation of Mike Gundy talking about how he's done negotiating, if the humiliation of, the fact that Mike Gundy admitted that he doesn't want to talk about the portal and they hadn't paid guys through the portal or paid guys to play there. If it wasn't enough that Mike Gundy sat at Big 12 Media Day 2 years ago and talked about how their fans didn't want to play Oklahoma and he would hold the door open for them. If all of that was not enough, then you show up in Eugene woefully underprepared and not even I don't even know that it is unprepared. You had no idea what Oregon was going to do, and then after the game, you had no answers for it.
The first thing is when I made that comment, I was complimenting Oregon for what they had done. Right. The second thing is, which I said later in the week, we've made commitments also. All right, but we have to be better and fundamentally sound and execute. That's really what it comes down to. And then, as I said, sometimes you're going to play people that have the ability to run away from you. Okay, well then we got to look at that and see where we're at. But we didn't play good enough with the systems that we had and execute to put ourselves in that position.
Yeah, I don't know how do you fix that? How do you? I just don't know how you fix that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know that there is a fix. I think that if you're an Oklahoma State fan, if you're even an observer, I think that it's a situation where he needs to be fired. It's as simple as that. He needs to be fired. He needs to be the program needs to be reset. And I really hate saying that because, the truth of the matter is, if we're being real, like Mike Gundy should be like one of the best coaches that ever did it and should be like a juggernaut in this conference, but he's just not. And I have to say, for all the flack I've taken for moving to Eugene and yada, 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 I was actually at the game for one quarter. I went to a tailgate. I was in the building for one quarter, and it wasn't even close. I'm talking about you had a situation unfold where I'm sitting there watching the game. Bro, Oregon ran 6 offensive plays in like 25 minutes, man. Like they absolutely, positively, flat out kicked wholesale ass. Call me duck season if you want to, but the dude took your team and said, you're not even there. We're just going to run right through you. And when we're not going to run, we're going to run a hook route up the sideline and we're going to bomb it 50 yards down the field. That's a tried and true ass kicking, dude. Like it doesn't get much more clear than that. And that's why I tweeted out over the weekend. There is no other solution. There is no other fix. It doesn't feel better. It doesn't get better. I don't want to hear about, Haas Henji. I don't want to hear about this garbage offensive line, dude. He needs to be fired and that program needs to be reset wholesale.
Yeah, and I think he should have been fired already. We can sit here and we can talk about how Mike Gundy feels this way or it's embarrassing. And frankly, it is terrible for this conference that Mike Gundy is allowed to continue being derelict in his duties and frankly, just not good enough as the head coach at Oak State. And you can put Haas Henshi, put anybody you want in a quarterback for Oak State. That does not excuse blown assignments and poor preparation on the defensive side of the ball. That's really shitty coaching is what that is. That's a lack of talent because you don't want to use the modern tools that are being given to you. And again, I'm telling you, it is terrible that Oak State fan wants to defend Mike Gundy. And I'm tired of the narrative that this is, Mike Gundy's given up because he wants to get fired. If Mike Gundy wants to get fired, I'm so tired of the excuses. Stop making excuses and fire the guy. The right thing to do is he needs to resign and never coach another down in football at Oklahoma State. What he chooses to go on and do and where that happens, hey, more power to you. Best of luck. What I'm telling you is Mike Gundy is not fit to be the head coach at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State fans, as passionate as you are and as blind as you tend to be, you deserve better than Mike Gundy.
Yeah, I
simply do. Negotiate the buyout and get him out of Stillwater because Oklahoma State and the Big-12 deserve better than what he's giving them.
Yeah, well, I mean, without a doubt, and I think the other part of this conversation that I think needs to be talked about is this nonsense out of Mike Gundy. It's bad enough that you just look like absolute trash on the football field, like you just look terrible. But to double down on that, obviously there was all this conversation about, hey, well, Gundy said what he said. And then, Dan said, hey, it wasn't a big deal. And then Dan Lanning goes on to say, well, hey, we didn't need extra motivation. We didn't need, it's not about extra motivation when we want to go kick someone's ass. Like, do you understand that there's a reason they dropped, 69 points or whatever it was? Like, that was personal, bro. So why would you do that to yourself? It's silly.
Yeah, you listen to Dante Moore after the game, and it's pretty funny.
You attack our head coach like attacking, my dad, to be honest. It's like you're attacking a family member. And I feel like as a whole team, it's kind of it hit close to home, and we knew that every week that it's always going to be some trash talk happening. But for him to attack Phil, him to attack Coach Lane, or attack our team was kind of personal. And this whole week we just used it as fire to make sure that we push ourselves and score 69 points, and we did that. And it was a lot of fire under this game, but overall I felt like we were a cool, calm, and collective. But Coach Lane said we're going to keep the foot on the neck and make sure we score as many points and try to break the scoreboard.
Well, I think that's as plain and simple as you can put it. They took what Mike Gundy said and they took it personally, and I think that was very clear from the jump that they were going to punish Oak State. It just never had to happen. It never had to happen. This whole season should never have had to happen. I've got Oklahoma State fans in our comments section on a daily basis defending Mike Gundy. Stop defending him. This is indefensible. You got humiliated. And for TV anchors in Stillwater to be talking about how it's tragic because Oak State just 2 years ago was on the same trajectory as Oregon. You're out of your mind. At no time has Oak State ever been on the same trajectory as Oregon. It's embarrassing. And I just don't know at what point, like you look at the way that SMU snatched defeat from the jaws of victory over the weekend to save Dave Aranda and 8-Ball in Waco. Hey, man, like it was an amazing rescue pulled off by SMU to save Dave Aranda, or they'd be in the exact same spot, right? This league, and until the presidents at these universities get on board with the fact that guys like Dave Aranda, guys like Mike Gundy are not good enough to coach in this league. They're not. And Dave Aranda, in my opinion, is an elite defensive guy. He has no business being a head coach. Mike Gundy is probably and never was as a head coach, right? He's been a good head coach who was never going to get you to the promised land. He's shown that repeatedly. And now I think he's quit on Oklahoma State football. And I don't know how, if you look at Oak State, how do you have any other opinion than Mike Gundy isn't recruiting hard? Mike Gundy doesn't want to pay players. Mike Gundy doesn't want to use the transfer portal. Mike Gundy doesn't want to bring in coaches to be his coordinators who have different thought processes than he has, because Mike Gundy brought in guys where he can be comfortable. Mike Gundy brought in players who frankly are not good enough to go up against Oregon or any other team. It's why you were winless last year. But you sold Haas Henge as a savior. He was never that. And you sold your fan base on a couple of dudes you brought into the portal who were never that. You got embarrassed, frankly. And I don't know how you fix that. And so I go up and down this list, and I say to myself, this has to be one of the worst weekends in Big 12 football in the last probably 3 years. Because as well as Texas Tech played, as well as, again, Utah played, who cares? They blew out nobodies, right? In 2 weeks, that's when we're going to find out who the best team in this conference is. Because right now, in my opinion, you are squarely looking at a league that is built around Texas Tech, Utah, and Iowa State. Because you're starting to see that Texas Tech can actually stop guys. But Iowa State got a very good win at home against Iowa in a game, frankly, that they easily could have lost. But again, they didn't, because that's what good teams do. And now you're looking at Iowa State, who's played their most difficult games. Iowa State's going to play for a Big 12 championship. Jake, I think it's just a question of who's going to join them.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about Texas Tech's defense, and this might sound a little nitpicky, but I just think it goes to kind of prove your point. Like right now, if I look at the game that Utah played, right, 63-9 over Cal Poly, and then obviously you're looking at Tech playing Kent State, 62-14. So offenses are basically the same against crap opponents, right? Low 60s offenses, really good. But
yep.
the thing that kind of stands out to me against Tech is you let your foot off the gas. Where did they get the 14 points, bro? Oh no, they didn't get it in with field goals that were spread out periodically throughout the game that, maybe they just got to play here and play there. They scored 14 points on you in garbage time. And I know you're going to say, oh, well, that's nitpicking. You're being harsh. You're being a tortilla land hater. I'm really not. My main point here is when I look at the best teams in the Big 12, I don't think Tech is in best team in the Big 12 conversation yet. I have Utah and Iowa State as the two best teams in the Big 12, the two teams that right now, if you put them up against anybody in this conference, I'm taking them to win that ball game. And the reason for that is I'm not sure that Tech has that killer mentality yet. It's easy to score a bunch of times against a bad.
Yeah.
What's not easy to do? To hold them down and say, nope, it's not just about racking up points. We are going to make sure that you don't see the end zone today. And Utah did that. Texas Tech did not. And that's something that I think you need to pay attention to. But, certainly Tech would be in the second cut. Absolutely. And maybe they come out and surprise the Utah defense at some point or have a great win. But that's where I have those three teams right now.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in Texas Tech, Utah, and Utah and Iowa State are on different levels. I mean, you're looking at, and again, I know every long-standing Big 12 fan hates when I say nice things about Utah, but there were a couple of storylines. Like, I'll go back to BYU real quick as well. If Jake Retzloff is still the starting quarterback at BYU, we'd be having a very different conversation about the top of the table in the Big 12, because that defense at BYU, LJ Martin, the running back at BYU, I look at Jack Kelly, I look at Isaiah Glasker, I think might be the best linebacker in the conference, and he's one of the best linebackers in the country. I mean, the way that Isaiah Glasker is playing right now at BYU, the way that defense is tackling, the way that they are dominating the line of scrimmage. Now, again, I understand it's Stanford, and you want to talk about hot ass. Stanford is hot ass. There is no question about that. But I don't think there is any doubt in my mind that as we sit here, I am as confident as I can be that BYU, if Jake Retzloff was on that team, I think BYU would be playing for a conference championship.
Without a doubt. And I think it's the dynamic running, it's the ability to read a defense. And, again, I think this is the hard part with, the whole situation that happened with Jake. Not to retread the details of that, but just like the way that kind of went down and what Jake had to deal with, and unfortunately what the decision BYU had to make, right? I mean, you notice that there was no drama with that. I think everybody was kind of on the same page about what needed to take place as far as Jake leaving the school. But what's crazy is, and obviously step down in talent, totally get it, but you go to another school in Tulane, and you look outstanding. You look like the guy that everyone thought you should be. Yeah. And again, kudos to Jake. Can't say that I'm surprised, though. This is exactly what we kind of told you he would be this year before the allegation came out and everything he had to deal with. So can't really say that I'm surprised. And frankly, the bigger surprise is not Jake Retzloff. It's Boise State looking average as hell. I mean, that's the reality if we're talking about the group of 5 / group of 6. Like that's the shocker. So I just think that we're in this spot where we now know who the haves and the have-nots are, both at the quarterback position and on a team level. Because, again, I know we touched on ASU. Sam Levitt's not that guy. Sorry, dude. Like, you can't have that much of a fall-off. When
do I get my flowers for that?
Yeah, and hey, you deserve your flowers. You were right. You're perfect,
When do you talk about how amazing I am? When do you talk about just that pimps are going to pimp and it's what Monty does?
You're a homer.
Because, Cam Scannaboo was nothing.
Yeah,
Sam Levitt's God.
Thick neck.
It turns out he's not. It turns out he's not. All right, the real Pete Forte, a member for 22 months. Real Pete Forte. Yes, it's been that long, Pete. Appreciate your support. Gundy's next contract extension for $5.
Thank you to whoever you are showing up with accounts with these names right here. I need this energy today.
I agree. We're just one QB away, Monty. Hey, Monty, we're just one QB away, Monty. Sure. Okay. So Chewy Gonzalez, Monty's calm issue reminds me of Oak State versus Oregon. It is so frustrating that I touched nothing here. turn the show off Friday, turn it back on Monday. Nothing works. Nothing works. Like it's so incredibly frustrating. Chewy Gonzalez, should the Big 12 have gotten USF over Houston? No. Look, I love what USF is doing. I mean, do you guys believe USF is for real? I guess that's the question. I don't know how at this point you say they're not for real. I mean, South Florida gets another impressive win. They've beaten 2 ranked opponents. They're 2-0, and they have done it 52-26. Fully double. That's the score. Now they beat Florida 18-16 in what was a wildly entertaining game. But you're about to, and again, I'm probably a bitter ass Notre Dame fan. We're going to find out what both USF and Miami are, because they've got to go to Miami this weekend, USF does, in a game that's in the middle of the afternoon, and that's not the easiest place to play under the sun. It truly is not. Cowpoke Ranch for $10. Gundy is trying to get fired.
Oh, here we go. Oh, so now it's so your ass kicking was intentional now. So you're saying that dude is out here walking back his comments and saying, "Oh no, it was actually a compliment. I mean, I wasn't talking out of my ass when I accused Dan Lanning of paying for wins. I never said any of that. It was a compliment." So now he's trying to get fired.
But this is the problem. This is what we do. If he quit, it would be obvious he's involved in an embezzlement of $41 million from the Innovation Foundation. Our university president had to step down in March.
Okay, with all due respect, just next comment.
He needs to be fired and prosecuted. Okay. Chewy for $2. Oak State wasn't hot ass on Saturday. They were diarrhea. Okay.
Hot ass.
Okay. Car Wash Channel, question for Jake. Oh boy.
Here we go.
I have a question. What is all that crap in your car?
Dude, bro.
How much?
We can talk about this more. Dude, it's not garbage, bro. It's not garbage. It's not garbage. It's housing items from the storage unit. A little pee came out when I came to the realization I didn't know where my passport was because we're going to Paris for Christmas. So I was like, all right, well, it's not in my backpack. Must be tucked away in the storage unit. And then so we go through the storage unit, and naturally through that process, you find things that you were also looking for. And so we just wound up doing a haul and got a lot of stuff that we needed, honestly, that we missed having. But lo and behold, the passport was at the house the whole time, and that was just a productive visit to the storage unit.
And I'll never understand this. And I'm kind of going through a purging phase right now. I'll never understand why people keep stuff that you had in a storage unit for weeks and weeks. And you're like, oh, look at that. My condoms. I didn't even realize I needed them. And then you're just going to throw them in the back of your little midget clown car and drive them all over the place. Did you even bring it in the house?
All the stuff?
Yes.
Yes, not the whole thing, but yeah, a lot of it. Yeah.
Oh, well, not all of it. I mean,
yeah, that trip was meant as a compliment, dude. Come on.
I hate that people use their cars as garbage cans. It drives me
crazy.
But
I'm not using it as a garbage can, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hate that people use their cars as a storage unit.
Well, what do you want me to do? What you are wrong, but it's fine. It's fine.
How am I wrong?
Because, man, okay. when you have stuff in a storage unit and you're slowly unpacking the storage unit, that's what you do.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Certain people in your life use their cars as a storage unit every day for as long as you've known them, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. And it's becoming infectious. Mm-hmm. That's the problem.
Sure. Right.
That's the problem. All right. Question for Jake. Why don't you film the show live in studio anymore with Monty? Because we live about 700 miles apart.
Can we just, I need to address the NE more. Can we get a proper ENEY? Yeah, I moved, bro. That's why.
My guy's on another level smelling. What do you want?
Right. Right.
You know, because Jake lives like way far away. So, and everybody is.
Yeah. So can we
Everybody
get an
is
update? Are
texting me
you
about
now
this
able to
audio
hear me?
issue. You guys, I understand there was a little reverb going on. Like I got my guy Mitch texting me. I count on you for good football analysis, not shitty audio. Figure it out.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Thanks. Appreciate that, buddy.
Man, wow. We really wanted to have, quote, shitty audio. That's really what our goal was today, to have just awful, can't figure it out audio problems. So, Mitch, you're just such a great guy, dude. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Man, just really good job, dude. Nice.
What would we do without that kind of amazing feedback?
Yeah. Wow. Quite literally. Quite literally.
Jake, Storage Wars coming soon.
No.
I'm not, dude. I really hope I never have to have a storage unit. I really do. Car Wash Channel. I don't like when people's cars are dirty and messy in the car. It's like a junkyard in the car's interior. That's what I'm saying. Conundrum. Tickets to Paris, but no audio. Weak. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, dog.
Dude.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yep.
Johnny Gonzalez says it's called Shotio. Exactly right.
Shotio. See what he did there?
Yeah, King of Thailand, too easy, Oak State James. I do not believe this hot take by you. Wait.
Oh,
James.
boy.
Here it is. Can I just eat my humble pie? Monty was right. I was wrong. Oak State is awful. but Hoss Hengy.
Dude, clean cut.
And Oak State James, don't think you're getting away with this. We're putting Hoss Hengy on your list.
That's true. That's 100% true.
We're putting Hoss Hengy on the list. Oh, Monty, didn't you say they had a great linebacker? Oh, the linebacker. Oh.
No, the defensive
Where's that
tackle.
linebacker?
Quote,
Oh, he was
quote,
getting run over by
elite
Oregon.
defensive
That's right.
tackle.
Defensive tackle.
Yes.
Oh, Monty, let me tell you. Did you see this guy's defensive tackle that they got in the portal? His crack is deep, unbelievable. How'd that work out? How did that work out? Not so good, man.